Is the Munster-Leinster rivalry approaching something like its best again, do you reckon, Murray?
Yeah, well, certainly in the amount of chat around the game. Obviously, people are on holidays. A lot more people would have watched this game, but it's been, well, some of the chat has been about negative aspects of the game. It has been good that people have been talking about Munster and Leinster going at each other so hard. Once again, disappointingly, it wasn't about the rugby. It was about the probably off-the-ball stuff and the yellow cards and the red card as well. So maybe it's not back to its rugby best, but certainly the heat was there and certainly the engagement from supporters was there as well. So that's a really positive thing to see. I suppose if you're looking back to the heights of it, it depends on what point of view you're coming from. Like a Munster fan would say the best point was potentially, I don't know, Ronan O'Gara handing off, was it Mal O'Kelly, and jumping over the hoardings into the crowd, and Leinster fan might say it's O'Driscoll picking off O'Gara's pass and going the length. So there's different viewpoints there, but certainly in terms of passion and I guess aggression, it was right up there.
Yeah, we'll be hearing from Jordan Larmour later on in the show. He does address some of Leinster's ill discipline as he perceived it. But Andy, I suppose the first half in particular kind of got a bit ugly at times. I think if you were to go back to say 2016 and that Ireland game against the All Blacks in Dublin, and we really went in on the All Blacks for some of their, let's say, overzealous approach that day, and yet when it's two Irish provinces going at each other, it's full-blooded and passionate. Even though a lot of it was quite reckless, you'd have to say.
Well, I think reckless from Leinster's point of view. I think Leinster started it. Leinster were the ones who I suppose, well, Sexton in particular with the scrum cap kind of slap in the face stroke, angry start to being. It was very, very borderline. Finian Wycherley was committed to the tackle, and Johnny took exception to it. Where I think that led his team, and he is the captain. I suppose he's a new captain, and he's always been an aggressive footballer. So you don't want to take that out of his game because it's what drives him, and he doesn't want to take it out of his game, I'm sure, and neither do his coaches. But as a captain, I got the impression that some of his team then followed suit and said, well, we're going to row in behind our captain, who, whether they might have well been unsighted and saw Johnny, Finian Wycherley. If you turned around out of a ruck, Finian Wycherley at one stage looked like he was about to give Johnny Sexton a suplex, or it was like a WWF move, but they may have not seen what started, and in the heat of battle in a game like that, you may have turned around as a forward and looked at your captain being kind of dragged off the floor, because it was quite out of character, some of the things they did. I'm not saying they've impeccable characters and are a perfectly disciplined side, but out of character in terms of just naivety or stupidity. I mean, Scott Fardy's 35 caps for Australia, and he clotheslined the guy when he almost had a foot in touch about 20 yards out from their line. That was in no way thinking with clarity. Healy's high tackle, I suppose, was probably less hot-headed, and I think Furlong's, while there's much debate over the colour of the card, I don't think there was intent there. I think he looked to hit a ruck coming in from probably 5 yards away, with a Leinster player shielding the Munster guy who he was making contact with. At the last second, the Leinster guy got out of the way and his shoulder made head contact. So there were mitigating circumstances in a couple of them. But yeah, it was fiery. I'd agree with Murray. If you turned the sound off and were from a different country and took all the emotion out of it, it was fairly turgid rugby actually for large parts. Leinster had a very good first 2 to 3 minutes actually, where they seemed to just seamlessly get into their game, and then it all got a bit disrupted after that.
It was uncharacteristic really, the whole thing from Leinster. Like Johnny, part of his job is getting hit borderline and late. It happens every single time he plays.
Yeah. Every time he plays France, sure, it happens probably every 3 minutes.
He doesn't tend to react like that. Often he'll stay down injured because he's been hit so hard, his ribs are nearly broken or whatever, he's in pain, but he never really reacts that aggressively in that manner. His aggression is often when he's standing on his feet, maybe giving a bit of chat to the opposition, or in terms of his tackling technique, how he responds that way. That was an uncharacteristic reaction from him. And then all the stuff you've mentioned, like 14 penalties, is really sloppy, and you would not associate that sloppiness with Leinster.